Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland, and for today's episode, well, I hope you're prepared for a fantastic episode that circles many interesting topics for a conversation fit to be king. Today's guest is Trevor Fraley, an incredible illustrator and comic artist that has worked for Dynamic Comics, Medium, and FIYAH, among others, including being the lead comic artist for Disney Villains, Ska. This was a guest that was brought forward to me by my wonderful co-showrunner, tipsyjhearts, and honestly, whenever I was exposed to Trevor's art, I knew he was an instant lock to have on the podcast. So much so that Tipsy also decided to join in on the conversation. So we'll be definitely hearing a lot of the love that she has for Trevor, as well as the love that we have for the stuff that he has worked on throughout this incredible conversation. If you enjoyed Trevor, make sure you support him with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. I see that stuff, and you know I absolutely love it. If you want to go a little further with that support, hey, we're getting close to the holiday season, and what better way to celebrate the holidays than by ripping some incredible merch from the merch shop from Fourth Wall. Link to that will be in the description below, including the incredible new ugly Christmas sweater. Just saying, you would look fantastic. And look, if all you want is an incredible place to where you can meet some of the other artists, meet incredible fans, share what you got going on, and build more of this community, maybe you should consider joining our Discord server, the Artist Sanctuary. The group that we have developed through there is already absolutely outstanding. I cannot tell you how much I love and appreciate the people that are in that server, and I think you would be a fantastic addition to that server today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. I'm just going to go ahead and say this now because I'm looking at you and like the way you're set up or whatnot, where you're dressed up or whatnot. You remind me so much of my friend that just got married recently. I got a friend, his name is Jay Brinson. He does like little streams and stuff like there as Goons and Tunes, and he's also trying to get into wrestling and stuff. But like I'm seeing you for some reason, he's the first person that's coming to mind because you look like very similar more than anything.
Sounds like a handsome guy.
Very handsome guy. I will give him that. He, especially at his wedding, he looked really good. Like he made sure that
nice.
he came dressed for the assignment. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Goodness. I'm sure it's only a matter of minutes before Tipsy gets in here.
Okay. I feel that. I do that sometimes too. Usually just in my head, but I'm glad that somebody else has that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone has that like internal dialogue or that internal soundtrack that just goes on as they're just doing like, you know, little things every day. You know,
I have stuff like that just like on my Spotify. Like, I listen to that and like elevator music and Muzak and like, I went through a big phase and still kind of am in it where like I just listen to like old 70s like mall music.
Ooh,
like especially like while I draw. Like yeah, it's like. And I don't know, I just love it so much. Like it's like that, and then you know, like everybody listens to lo-fi.
Yep.
Like everybody listens to lo-fi, but I took like a little detour. I was like, what's going on over here? And I was like, oh, it's kind of like similar, and it helps me focus. So yeah, I'm really a big fan of that.
That's an interesting thing for me. Usually, like if I get especially lately. So I'll say this: I work a forklift operator, and luckily. The safety guy doesn't care enough if we have like one earbud in, as long as he doesn't see us with that one earbud in or whatnot. Right. Let's see, what was I say? So like I'll get like a song stuck in my head off of an album, and then I just have to go and listen to the entire album. This past week alone, I've been listening to yes. I was gonna say, in fact, this past week alone. Will you let me speak?
Yeah. Nah.
Switch up.
I figured you would at least appreciate this, Tipsy, but this past week alone, the normal album and In Case I Make It by Will Wood has been stuck in my head, and that's been the album that I've been going back and forth to for like the past week or so.
Yep.
Yeah. So glad you can make it, Tipsy.
I'm so glad I'm not late. Hi.
Nah. Hi.
You're not late. We're just early.
Yeah, you guys are the one early.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I know you're still fairly new to Discord, but I'll let you know, at least for me sometimes, Discord likes to be a dick to me sometimes. So there might be a point to where halfway through the conversation, I just dip with no, like, question or reason whatsoever. That's just, that's not the interview being immediately over. That's just Discord being difficult, restarting on me. I'll be right back in, like, 30 seconds to a minute, and, we'll pick back. You'll just pick back up where we left off. The what?
No, Trevor, it's your sign to run away as fast as possible from this podcast.
I hope the same thing doesn't happen to me because I'm not very used, like you said, I'm not very used to Discord. So it hasn't happened to me yet in the very short time I've been on it. So hopefully it doesn't happen.
I mean, for me, I think it's more of an issue the fact that, like, I'm using this and I'm recording with an OBS, so it might be the two systems, like, clashing against each other a little bit. That could be it. Right. I don't know for sure. All I just know is it happens. So I at least get
He's also from Ohio, so you have to forgive him.
I'm not from... Okay, no, she's doing this on purpose. I'm actually from Georgia. That's where I currently am right now.
Wait. Oh, no, I actually forgot this side.
Are you... No. We had a whole entire discussion about Georgia and Ohio, and, like, for some reason, like, whenever she thinks Ohio, she thinks corn, which is not the first thing I think of. Whenever I think corn, I think, like, Illinois or Nebraska or something along the lines of that. Not Ohio. And, like, it got to the point where we made it over to Twitter, and some people was defending my side about it. Like,
that's crazy.
But regardless, I'm not in Ohio. I'm in Georgia. So
okay,
I know
that's settled.
All right, Trevor. Before we really get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a deserted island on your own accord. It's just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to truly enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations, you're not stranded on an island. It's like a little personal Airbnb thing. To help make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
One piece of media, one piece of art.
Whatever you consider media or art, as long as just, whatever you consider is under that umbrella.
It would have to be a movie.
Okay.
And it might probably gonna be an animated movie because I love those.
Okay.
I know it's very cliche, especially by the talk we're about to have, but it might be The Lion King.
Okay.
Honestly. It might be The Lion King, or it might be Prince of Egypt. Actually, no. You know what? Emperor's New Groove.
No, sorry, say that one more time.
The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, baby. Okay, you picked a good choice with that one. But
I think that will be it.
But just out of curiosity, why is that the choice? Why is the one you settled on?
Because I was going to say The Lion King because, I love that one so much, but also I know it by heart, so I could just play it in my head. Honestly, Emperor's New Groove, it's hilarious, and I love animation, and I love it's also I think it also has beautiful animation. I know it's not something that people think of as beautiful animation when they think of Treasure Planet or Prince of Egypt or Ghibli, but with Emperor's New Groove, it's that, and also it was very funny, and it's never disappointed me, even after I watched it many, many times. So it'll probably be that, maybe. As of right now, today, that one.
I mean, it's hard to really go against a choice like that. I mean, it's one of those, especially as more time passed, people have definitely held that near dear to our heart as a classic on its own, in its own right, more than anything else. And I would agree, especially with some of the transformation animations, with there's some beautiful animations to go with that. Although I think I can already hear the bouncing of Tipsy when you were just about to say Lion King.
You know what? Lion King's always there. Lion King's always in my head, right. And I don't know, Lion King's always been there for me, so it's always gonna be there. So,
all right,
that's also the choice, but I'll have it.
Fair, but regardless, the Emperor's New Groove. That is your answer. You're locking that in.
I'll lock it in today within these 24 hours. Yes.
Okay, then. Luckily, within this 24 hours, that will get you more or less a trip to the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland, and also I'm not hosting it alone. Would my wonderful co-host like to introduce herself?
Hello, my name is tipsyjhearts. I'm an artist, animator, and I might be your problem soon.
Potentially, but that's for later. For now,
He's lying.
for now, you can support the podcast. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Check out the wonderful merch shop. There's some incredible new Christmas designs, ugly Christmas sweaters that I think you would look fantastic in today. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. He is an illustrator and comic artist who's worked for Dynamic Comics, Medium, and FIYAH, among others. A creator of things with a sinister style to boot. Welcome to the podcast, Trevor Fraley!
Let's go!
Thank you.
Let's go!
How are you doing today, Trevor?
I cannot complain. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we can't complain either. Like I said before, you have been a guest that we have been really wanting to have on this podcast. I know Tipsy has been hounding me to get you on this podcast.
Yes, especially me.
Yeah. But, I mean, with the stuff you're presenting and the things you've had a hand in, it was only a matter of time before you got on this podcast. So thank you for taking the time to be here. But before we really discuss the stuff that you have a hand in nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Trevor. What got you interested in art and animation and, comics in the first place?
I think that in art in general, I think I've always just been drawing.
Okay.
My mom tells me that I've been drawing since I was 2, and she said I drew this picture of like this bear's foot in in perspective, which I don't believe because she doesn't have proof of it. But she says this. I've been drawing like that since I was 2, and that's just a story I've just been going with. I think it would sound good in a book, but I think I've been drawing for all my life, and just like when I had pieces of paper or a pencil in front of me, I would just draw, put pencil to paper, and something would come out. Even if when I was little, it wasn't that good. Like as I grew and grew, I think it just turned into something that I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that you could turn this into a career at any point, especially when I was little, but I hoped. But I think that's like the beginnings of it. But when it came to actually putting this to like my life, not until college, like not even college, when I was looking for colleges, that I realized that what I wanted to do with it, because I wanted to work for Disney when I was younger, as many kids do. Didn't know how to animate. I took animation classes and I realized how hard it really is. I really commend everybody who works in animation, and like especially hand-drawn animation, because that's what I did. I don't know at all how to do like the new stuff, the computer generated animation, but I love everybody who does it. But when I went looking for colleges, I walked into this room and they had like a projector with posters of like, and I had a whole bunch of characters on. I can't even describe it, but it was just a feeling of being in that room. I saw pictures and posters and applications for illustration that I didn't know were things. I didn't know I knew illustration existed, but I never thought of it as something that I would do. I always thought of myself as like, I'm going to work for Disney, because growing up, people would look at my work and say, you should work for Disney someday. It sounds like a good idea, and maybe it will happen. And maybe I have a little bit, well, not really, but like just even that thought. And when I walked into that room, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. At least like now, this is what I want to do. This is what I can apply my work to. And yeah, like I think that was like the jump start. It's kind of late in life, I think, because you grow up drawing all the time, and then not until you get to an art school do you get to see other people that surround you that also want to do that same thing. When you're in high school, you think, oh, you're the kid that draws, which I was. I was the kid that draws. I was in the yearbook as like most artistic. Well, when you get to college, you're not just the kid that draws. Everybody draws. So now you're just a guy who also draws, but everybody else does. So once you get there, you kind of find your voice. I think that's what kind of helped me do that. And I'm still doing it. I think everybody is too. But I hope to answer your question. I think that's what I got.
I think you answered it and then some. I mean, just hearing kind of like obviously having that love from the start of wanting to like, have your hands in art one way or another and going through that whole entire process, not even realizing until you were looking for colleges, oh wait, this is a possibility. This is something I could potentially do. I mean, to be fair, I know I've had a similar story when it came to wanting to do filmmaking. I didn't realize until I actually got to college itself, because I knew I wanted to go on like a media path, but I didn't realize like seeing a movie and then realizing you can make movies is like two different things.
Yeah, that also happened to me. I'm not sure that's part of the question, but like I had a similar thing with that too. So I relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say I know, like I've had Tipsy on the podcast before, like for her own episode, she was talking about how like already going through like years of college itself before actually realizing, oh wait, I actually want to be in the animation field. Like realizing later on.
The thing was with me is that like I never even knew art was a job. Like I just saw pictures move, and my family loved them, but they didn't tell me how art works because none of them are artists. Most of them are like doctors or like, you know, the more like something that'll give you a paycheck every week type of deal. Whereas the field I'm going into, interesting path, but it wasn't until I went to like I think late high school or like early community college is when I discovered people make art for a living.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you know, I think what we're trying to say is it's never too late, and seeing obviously what you've been able to do at that, you know, quote unquote late step, and what you've been able to do since then, I think it more than makes up for the years you weren't doing it beforehand.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's like everybody is trying to figure out what they want to do, and then when they get to college, like the choosing colleges is like, what am I gonna do? Like, what do I want to do? But like, luckily, I had something where from the beginning I was like, okay, I like drawing. People say I'm good at drawing. Let me go to art school. I didn't know what art school. Honestly, I have a very embarrassing story about what happened with that. Because, you know, like, do you know about RISD, Rhode Island?
I can't say I have off the top of my head.
It's an art school in Rhode Island, and it's like, I think it's very prestigious, or like at least a lot of people have been there. It's like, if it's not Cal Arts, I think it's like a lot of people went to RISD. I applied to a school in Rhode Island thinking it was RISD. It wasn't RISD. It was Rhode Island University, but I thought RISD was a part of Rhode Island University, and I got in, but I realized after I got the letter and it didn't have anything RISD on it, and I was like, oh, not going. So I ended up going to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I think that was very. I think it helped with knowing the environment of what being an illustrator would be. It helped with like finding new people who also have the same passion as you, and just like 4 years of that really puts your mind into like, oh, like it's not really a competition, but you're gonna like go against people like in like critiques or like see other people's works, and you're like, oh, you feel bad about it, but then like also you have your own style. It's a lot of seeing other people's works and comparing your works to other people, but that's what's gonna happen in the professional field. Like it's gonna happen, but like all you can do is just like, hey, I draw this way, they draw this way, and that's all it's got to be, I think.
Would you say that like actually getting to like, you know, school, Philadelphia Arts or whatnot, like when actually going there, like was that kind of the moment for you that kind of just clicked from it being just like a general love to a passion and truly wanting to make it your career, or was it that like step before realizing, oh, this is a possibility? Like was there ever that light bulb moment of like, oh, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, the light bulb moment was when I walked in, like when I was looking for colleges. They had like the open house, you know, you walk in and you like see all the different like majors, and I didn't know what I was looking for was illustration.
Okay.
I went to a different school in Philadelphia because it's like close to New Jersey. I went to a different school in Philadelphia, and it was the Art Institute, and they had a graphic design like program. I don't want to do graphic design. I didn't know I didn't want to do graphic design. I didn't know there was a difference between illustration and graphic design until I got there, and I was like, I don't think I like this that much. And then when I went to the University of the Arts, which people get very confused about when I like mention, they say, "Oh, you went to the Art Institute?" No, I went to the University of the Arts, and I don't get like snippy with it, but it's like it's a very common like everybody does it. But I went to University of the Arts open house, and I walked into that room, and they had a projector on the screen. And they just had like a slideshow of posters and book illustrations. They didn't even really have comics, but like the book, like children's books illustrations. I was like, oh my god, this is it. Like if it's not animation, which I think if I don't do it myself, I would like to participate in the animation process of like character design or like concept art in any way possible. Like even if I like did something like a story and then it got eventually moved into like an animation story, I think that would be one of my dreams. But like That's like maybe we're getting too far, but that's just. I love that idea so much, and going and having that light bulb moment when I walked into the open house was probably like one of the most important moments of my life, I think.
I mean, that's extremely valid more than anything else. And for the people out there, I can determine the difference between the Arts Institute and the School of the Arts in Philadelphia. See, the School of the Arts in Philadelphia is a wonderful school that Trevor went to, and the Art Institute's a scam.
I didn't say that. I don't endorse that. I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't they just close down like almost all their institutes or something like that? Or
they might have. But
this podcast is brought to you by the Art of Institute. But why?
I didn't say that.
I would say, disclaimer, this is a joke. Disclaimer, this is a joke. Anyways, but I love that, you know, obviously you want that kind of interested into that art because obviously a lot of people, you know, like admired your art, you know, beforehand, and like we're talking about, like, you know, especially wanting to get into animation, people saying like, oh my god, you know, you should work for Disney, you should be with Disney and stuff like that. Was Disney like a major influence of your art? What would you say is like some of the biggest influences on your art style?
My art style, I don't think it's funny because even now I don't think I have like a set style.
Okay,
but I'm very influenced by a couple of movies. And I know it's like kind of cliche and people like bring it up now, but when I was realizing it, I didn't see it brought up as much as on Twitter. I didn't even have a Twitter when I was thinking this. But like when I was younger, I didn't watch a lot of Disney movies. I saw The Lion King. Mm-hmm. I saw like I don't even know what I saw. I didn't watch Disney Channel, which they show like a bunch of Disney movies on. But then like something clicked. I don't know. Maybe when I was like going into like 6th grade maybe, but before that, like I know like people younger, they watch like over the Disney movies. I watched Lion King for all my life. That was like the one constant. Mm-hmm. But other movies like I was never had interest in. And then one day, I don't know what was the switch that flipped, but I think I watched either Tarzan or Hercules, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like I like this a lot. I didn't think much of it in the realm of this is what is inspiring me now, but I can see now that it has. It's like to draw people, because I'll admit, as a lot of other artists who do like focus on characters, I'm not very good at backgrounds. I try, I try my best. I will always try to learn, but I'm very focused on characters. And Hercules and Tarzan were very like influential. Just like you could see like all the joints and everything like that, and all like the body parts that move and stuff like that. Like this is very front and center, and it helped me draw people, even though I know they're very stylized. It helped me be able to look at like the human form, and then when I got to art school, I was like, oh, I kind of get this. Like some people, I guess maybe are like, when you go to art school, you're not used to like drawing a naked body. But we did that all the time in our school, as many people will say. But I felt like very comfortable, just like, okay, this is how it goes. It's just drawing the form. You're not drawing somebody who's like, I guess you are drawing somebody who's nude on a pedestal right here, but you're just drawing the form. You're trying to get this right so you can draw your own characters in the way that you draw it. But I think those two were really like in hindsight, they were really influential to me.
I mean, two great choices, if I do say so myself. Like, not just obviously with the stories themselves, but like the way each of those characters were presented for each of those, like in very different ways, but also like very Disney-esque at the end of the day. Yep. Like, you know, Hercules, I mean, with all the different designs that they presented and such, with all these different gods and demons and stuff, like really good influence on there. But like the Tarzan, the more human-like, but yet still fairly animated way that they constructed humans, like, I especially seeing your art style now, I could definitely see a strong influence on that, and I can imagine, like, especially with one concept that I was able to see as I was doing my research on you that I wanted to just briefly touch upon, and that was the senior thesis that you have called Orca. Now, yes. I was only able to briefly see what you had presented or whatnot, but what exactly was Orca, and what, other than, you know, you needed to do an assignment, what was more or less like the inspiration for it?
It's funny because when you get to art school, you have to do a senior thesis, and I was really blanking. Mm-hmm. And you see, like, before you graduate, you see, like, other people's theses, like, throughout the years. When the year's done, they present them all. They have them all displayed, like, in the main hall in college. And it's like, oh, what is my idea gonna be? For 3 years, you think, what is my idea gonna be? And when it came to my 4th year, I was stressing. I was really like, I don't know what it's gonna be. I want to do like maybe something concept arty, but I don't have an idea for what it's gonna be. I had a dream one night, and I came up with this world and these characters. They weren't fully formed, but I had like visions of these characters, and I was like, okay. And I woke up, drew a couple sketches. And some of the sketches actually made it to like the actual final thesis because it's a concept art book, so it was like the first thing that came to my head. I was like, okay, these need to make it in here. But I had the characters' images in my head. I had to fill it out with some kind of like loose story because it wasn't like a full movie. It was just like a concept art book. Name the characters, which I love doing. One of my favorite things to do ever. I sometimes come with the names before I come up with the characters.
Okay.
But it was just a story about, and in hindsight, it doesn't make that sense. Cause I was really just like going off my dream. It's about a girl who like quote unquote was the universe and like in like a human, like a body.
Okay.
And she doesn't know it. And her mom's like the villain, and her dad's like I don't know, like her hero and stuff like that. She has a brother. It was basically like these humanoid characters, but they're like on a different planet and a different like time because like she's the universe, but she's also like in the universe. I guess it's very loose and it's very crazy. And I drew them again like later on, and I could like refresh and maybe think about it more to make it make more sense and maybe turn it into something. Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now we'll look back on this. It's like, oh, that actually became something. And maybe it's a Netflix movie, or maybe Netflix is defunct. Who knows? But
if we're lucky.
Yeah, that's just an idea I had for my senior thesis. I made it into a concept art book, made the art book by hand.
Ooh.
Because I didn't have, as I was coming up with the pages, I didn't have the time to send it to a printer and then have it come back to me in time for the senior thesis. So I made it by hand, which for someone who doesn't know how to make a book, and I Googled everything, I think it came out pretty well.
Okay.
If you wanted to present it like as your senior thesis, maybe it could have been a little bit better. But I like when we presented them and we like had to mount them, I was like up and like in the very like when you walk into the hall that it was in, it was like one of the very first ones you see. So I was like, okay, that's all I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
I didn't win anything because like at the end they have like a contest, but like I guess it's kind of like a contest, but they like award certain people like certain things. I didn't get one, but I was just glad to have it up in the front. I was glad, I was happy, and I still am, and I'm very gracious about it.
I mean, even then, like from what I've been able to see from the little glance of it from your portfolio, it looked absolutely stunning. Like the characters, like very unique, and like the story itself, like looked to be something intriguing more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was something that like I wish it was more than just a senior thesis, because especially as you were describing it or whatnot, I'd love to see you like potentially toy around with this concept, tinker with it, and see how far you could potentially go with it.
It comes back every so often. Like it comes back to my like the front of my mind. I'm like, oh, maybe I should turn this into something. But then I see something that's like kind of, it's been in my mind for so long. I see a lot of movies or shows that kind of remind me of it, like a lot. And I'm like, maybe not. It kind of exists already. but in my mind, I'm like, I thought of that first. They been looking at my website. I don't know. Then I'm like, that's absurd. Maybe not. But like, I do that with a lot of my ideas in my head. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I should have pulled the trigger on that like 3 years ago, because now it's like very popular and very close to my idea. But maybe I'll try to work harder on that. But like I see that a lot, especially with the Orca one, and maybe I'll let people forget about things that have happened already, and then I'll pull the trigger on it, and they'll be like, oh, that's very influenced on that thing, but not a copy.
I would say, I know from personal experience, this podcast idea or whatnot, this is a concept I've been toying around with ever since I was in college, like years ago. In college, I was going to see if I could focus more on like directors and writers and such, like the people that have more of a creative head and stuff like that. And I just wanted to focus on the origin story aspect of it themselves, like how they got to the point to where they were. But I'm glad I kind of, stewed on this idea, expanded it to include a bunch of artists and stuff, because, including artists such as yourself that deserve an opportunity and deserve a platform for this kind of stuff. I think I made the right choice at the end of the day. As Tipsy could probably attest, because in fact that, she's part of this. But obviously, you know, getting that experience in college and toying around with concept like this, like it's incredible stuff like that. But you know, obviously you're working towards a goal, and that's to work in this kind of industry and stuff. I can only imagine what some of the opportunities you have. I want to talk about one of the biggest ones right now that you potentially have. What was it like being able to create the concept that is renewable and G? That was a very interesting concept that I was looking at your stuff like that. Like, what exactly was this comic concept or comic book or whatnot, and how did you get that opportunity?
So I work with a man named Brian Winkler, and we've done. I did a comic with him called Agent G.
Okay.
And that was something like completely separate. I know it's like renewable and like, but it's completely different. But I worked with him on a little comic that was based on Michael Bolton and Kenny G as like action heroes in like the 80s.
Wait, time out. What?
What?
That sounds like, awesome.
Yeah. And you know, I kind of want to like go back into it, but I did it when I was like very new to like, not very new to like digital art, but like very new to like the comic format and like how to like actually make comics. But I think if we like went back and worked on that more, I think that would be like a hit. And like I had like a better following on social media now, so if I like promoted it, I think it would be a big hit. But yeah, we did that, and then he had some other projects that were basically I forget the state it was for. But basically, there was this company for renewable energy that wanted like to introduce kids to renewable energy and like other forms of energy, and they wanted a character at first, just like a mascot for it, and then there was a comic that they wanted. So I did one comic for them. I forget what the first one was. It was kind of so long ago. Like I forget what the first one was, but I did 3 in total. And as I kept on doing the character, I was like, oh, I like this a lot. I think that's what kind of brought me to my style of comics, because before that, I hadn't done like, before that and the before the Agent G comic, I hadn't really done any comics. Like I've always wanted to do illustration, but I was always focused on the character design portion of it, which I still am. Like I love characters. I love designing characters so much. I love it so much. But I never even thought about doing comics.
Okay.
Like it was always there, and people would be like, "Oh, you should do comics." You know, when people come up to you, it's like, "Oh, you should do my children's book. Oh, you should do a comic." But I never thought of actually like doing it for like real money. I guess like for like a real thing. And then when I did those, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. I have like this under my belt. This is something that I've done as a comic, and I enjoy doing it. So maybe I can do some more." Didn't think much of it after that, and that was. Maybe I've done like some other like personal comics that I've done before. Like I've done like little like strips before that were like mine. I never did like a long form comic or a graphic novel or anything like that. So that was all new to me, but I enjoyed the time I had with it.
I mean, I can imagine. I mean, I thought the character designs for it were absolutely incredible, especially for like a renewable energy, you know, promotional guide, more or less. And like you talking about this stuff actually brings up another question I meant to ask just a little bit sooner. Like, I don't think we've had many like dedicated illustrators on this podcast before, so I'm curious, like, how exactly does a person get into illustration? Was it like for you to get like an opportunity? Like, how do you get an opportunity to work in illustration?
It's a very abstract process for me, at least.
Okay.
When I was in high school, my first job, like my first like actual job, even though it wasn't like on a payroll, I was a caricature artist.
Okay.
And I used to go to these programs in a town like near me during the summer, and there's one guy came in and was teaching us how to do caricatures, and he was like, "Oh, you can do this and set up, and you can charge $200 an hour." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, I want to do what you're doing." And then he taught us how to do caricatures, and then I got like pads and like a portable easel, and then my art teacher in high school was like getting me my first job, and then I had handed out business cards because my aunt like does business cards. So I was like, oh, I had business cards and I had a business going. I did that like here and there, probably up until the pandemic.
Okay.
From age 16 to the pandemic, I kind of did that like on the side. So I had that. I had some kind of like social media presence because I had to have like a Facebook page for the caricatures.
Right.
And then it wasn't really like illustration in the way that like a lot of other people do it. And I didn't know at the time that, like I said, before college, I didn't know it was a time you could do illustration like that. But having a social media presence and business cards and everything like that gets people's eyes on your stuff. And I think that's kind of like what like wedged me in there just a little bit. For illustration as a whole, having a bachelor's in illustration kind of helps.
Yeah.
At least for me. So when I got out of college, that's when like I really got there. And when you get out of art school, it's like, what are you gonna do? Unless you have a job like set up already, or you had what's it called? I forget what it is. They have like you worked while you were in college doing art.
Okay, like a work study thing.
Yeah, like a work study thing. Like I had like work study, but it never had to do with art. Like, okay. But unless you had that and you had like experience, it was like very hard. Even now, it's very hard to get like art jobs or illustration jobs. And I turned to Twitter.
Okay.
So I turned to Twitter, and I was on Twitter all the time, like posting my art. And then I want to say the biggest thing that got me to where I am right now is a tweet I made in 2017. I posted a few pictures, like an illustration. None of them related at all. One of them was like of Kendrick Lamar. One of them was like this girl wearing a leather jacket. One of them was like a tarot card. And I said, hey, if you could share this, it would really help with my illustration like passions. Like I really wanted to break into the industry. I said I had mentioned at the time that I was a black illustrator, and people really got mad about that when it started getting big because they're like, why you have to mention that? Why you have to mention that? Like, well, it worked because it got like that's the first tweet I ever made that like broke like 100 retweets, and it got to like 3,000 retweets or 3,000 like impressions, and that really got me like up there. And like people started like so many people emailed me in that first week. Mm-hmm. That I took on so many jobs that I didn't know what I was in for. And they weren't like huge jobs. They were just like people looking for an illustrator. Some people I still like talk to today, still like kind of work with today. But Twitter really gets eyes on your work. And unlike Instagram, which I'm not really a fan of when it comes to sharing your artwork, but I still do it kind of, is that people get to see your art and they get to know your personality. They get to know the person. And they see what you can do, so they have more incentive to give you an opportunity. They just see if they just see your art on Instagram. Yeah, it's like you have great art, but are you good to work with? I guess is the way it works. And up until Elon Musk started like messing with Twitter, I love Twitter, and I'm gonna keep on calling it Twitter. I will never call it X.
Same.
So like up until like recently, Twitter was like my favorite place to go. I still go on it. I still like have friends on it that I've made from Twitter, but it's kind of not the same. I feel like it would be harder for people trying to break into it now because the algorithm is jacked up. But back then, like just like posting art all the time, and then eventually you get a hook. Somebody with 1,000 followers retweets it, and it's like there you go, and then it's like a train, and it might not be like huge like compared to like now. But back then, it helped so much, and I'm grateful for like even trying. So I think having a social media presence somewhere, I don't know where it would be right now, but I think really helps, and I think that's what really got me on people's radar.
I feel like the big place nowadays, and I mean, people that might not consider it as much of a social media platform, but I feel like TikTok's like the big place now. Like a lot of people getting so discovered because of a TikTok that they post. I could be wrong on that. I don't use TikTok that much. I need to be better about it for the podcast's sake.
I feel you. I feel you because I have a TikTok account for my art stuff, but I don't know how to make videos like that, man. Yeah. Like I don't record a lot of the stuff I draw. I don't use an iPad, which is like makes it very easy to record what you draw. I don't use Procreate. It's very hard for me to use Procreate. I like using a tablet. I know that people don't like Photoshop or Adobe. I don't, but my job pays for it, so I don't have to pay for it. So I use it, and that's all. Like, if I don't have that job anymore, I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll go to Procreate, but as of right now, I use it. I love it. I've been using it for years. And yeah, I don't know. TikTok is very elusive to me. I'm on it all the time. A lot of funny stuff on it, but I don't know exactly like how to work it. Like I don't know how to work Discord.
Yeah. Hey, we got there together and we're doing a good call so far with Discord. So maybe it's just a matter of tinkering around with it and maybe, figuring out at some point. Maybe you could hit something on the algorithm. I mean,
Maybe.
I know a big thing I could probably hit on that algorithm is quite possibly the biggest thing you've had an opportunity to work on, and probably the main reason why we wanted to bring you here for the podcast today, and that's getting an opportunity to work on Disney villains Scar. Now, I'm genuinely curious, at least in the first place, how did this opportunity come to you in the first place? How did you get an opportunity to work with such a legendary character and help bring that to life in comic form?
And how does it feel to be God's favorite?
Oh my god! Like, that almost isn't a joke because literally, like, almost out of nowhere, the editor of Dynamite Comics comes in my Twitter DMs. It's like, hey, want to work on a project? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Can't tell you much about it right now, but we'll tell you about it soon. And I was like, last year, like late last year, probably like December. Don't know what it is. Don't know what it possibly could be because mind you, Scar was the first one.
Okay.
So there wasn't like an idea or an inkling I could have had. And it's like he said it was like a Disney thing. I was like, oh, interesting. The fact that he could have said any Disney thing, but he said Lion King, and then he said Scar, I was like, what? I can't believe this. And at the time, I was gonna work on something else at the same time as it, and like I thought I could do it. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do both. The other one got like canceled like midway through. Like at the very beginning, I did a couple sketches, and they were like, oh, actually, we don't have the funds for. Not the fact that they had the funds for it. So something went behind the scenes of like the writing team, couldn't like make like a deadline, so that never went through. But as I started working on Scar, I was like, oh, I'm so glad that the other one didn't go through. Because, like, there's no way I could have done both of these. Right. No way. No way. But, like, the fact that I was able to work on Scar, the fact that this opportunity came, it was like a godsend. Never in my life would I have thought that it would have came just, like, out of the blue. I thought it would have, like, I don't know. It was so surreal. It's so crazy. Like, just to get that DM, especially on Twitter, like, something I've been, like, boosting up this whole podcast, like, the fact that I got that in my DMs, it was crazy. It's insane.
Which really shows that, hey, maybe the worst things don't always come from Twitter DMs. And maybe if, Elon Musk would stop messing with how Twitter DMs work or whatnot, maybe more cool opportunities like this can come to certain artists. Just saying!
Probably.
But
it's crazy.
I was gonna say, I can only imagine how crazy it is for you to get to work on something like this. I mean, for those who don't know, what exactly? For me saying for those who don't know, but regardless, like for those who don't know, what exactly is this Disney villain Scar? And I can only imagine, like, how is it for you to be able to toy with something like this?
It's okay. So Disney villain Scar is basically what happens in between. Oh man. I'm just even thinking about it's like making me frazzled because like I can't believe it happened. But like, what's Scar doing in between or after like Simba's born and stuff like that, and like what's he doing in the background? What's going on behind the scenes with him, and like why, like what is his motivation to like go against Mufasa and Simba and everything like that? Like, so in order to like. I can't believe it's real, honestly. Just work on that. The fact that I cannot believe it. I cannot stress this enough. Because I had never done like a high profile comic before, and to work on that was like a dream come true. And just to work on Scar, one of my favorite villains ever, not just Disney villains, was just like the design of them, everything. I'm like, oh my god, and then like to do it justice. I'm like, oh man, I gotta do this some kind of justice, but like maybe not the exact same way they did it like in the 90s, but like try to put a little spin on it.
Right.
But because the story has a little spin on it. It's a little mature. It's a little like wild things that are going on in that story.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So like I gotta like try to like do something a little different with it. I know not like everybody's gonna love it, but I try to like spin it a little bit. So yeah, that's what Disney Villain Scar is. 4 issues. Yeah, love it.
And I can only imagine, especially for you getting an opportunity to not just tinker with a high profile thing, but to basically be the illustrator for the new canon of Scar and stuff. Like, we were joking about being God's favorite. You were basically playing God for this like beloved story. That had to be like a surreal experience.
It didn't. I'll tell you what. It did not hit until I looked on the like. I'm not sure if someone shared it with me or I found it, but I looked on like the Lion King wiki.
Okay.
And then I see a picture of myself on there, and it's like, okay, that's cool. The thing that really hits is when you see like characters and they have their own page on it, and it's a picture I drew of that character, original character, not like it's Chuck Brown's character, the author, but the fact that like there's a picture of something I drew and it has like Wikipedia is not official or like the wikis aren't official, but it makes it feel so real. Like,
you know, you made it if you made it on the wiki.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't really think of how much it affected like the lore or the canon of everything. I know there's people arguing about it on Reddit. I've seen it.
That's when you know you've made it. When people on Reddit are arguing about stuff that you had a hand in.
I was looking as I was drawing, like as I was doing each issue, and I was like seeing people's reactions to it. Like some people were liking, some people were like, "Oh, this isn't like the Lion Guard and everything like that." I was like, man, like some things are gonna shift a little bit. Like when a new age, this is the new thing.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be the one to say this. Fuck the Lion Guard.
Look, I haven't seen the Lion Guard. I think it looks cool. I know they brought Scar in it. I think that's pretty cool. But I can't say much about it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's done or not. If they wanted me to work on it, that would be also great.
It's done.
I'm not saying anything bad about it.
It's over. It's done.
Again, you realize we're talking to a beloved like person that holds the Lion King near and dear in this call, okay?
Excuse me fucking too. But
that's what I was saying. No, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. You're the person that holds it more near and dear. Like, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I love like the original film. The second one, 1.5 was even great and such. But like
1.5.
Yeah, I know, right? And like, but like, you know, I haven't had a chance to watch the Lion Guard. I remember the original Timon and Pumbaa series. That was classic. Mm-hmm. That was great. But
absolutely.
But regardless, like even then, just having this little like fun, obviously talking about this fan interaction or whatnot, and how much we love this IP. The fact that you yourself, I can only imagine, like going back to what I was originally saying, it has to be surreal just seeing people like how big was it for you to see how much of an impact you kind of had on this community, on the Lion King beloved diehards?
There was I have a Facebook page too, like from my account. So I don't usually use it as much, but like there was an account. I forget what it was really for, but I think it was like the main like Lion Guard account, or maybe the Lion King account, but they had the Lion Guard icon on it. Mm-hmm. They would share every single update that would come up, like every single thing they would like whenever there was like an announcement, they would know when the books would be released before I would. So I would find out when it was released after they posted. So I'm like, oh, okay, then that's when it's coming out. That's when I would tell people it was coming out. Mm-hmm. But when I see people they're like who love Lion King like that, and then like they're sharing like my work, whenever I saw it on any social media that I didn't personally post, it was so surreal and so like mind blowing. Like you don't ever like I always dreamed of working on something with the Lion King, but since like the Lion King came out in the 90s, and there doesn't need to be anything new with the Lion King in the current day.
Not yet.
Yeah, but like when this came across my desk, I was like, I can't believe it. I would like pace back and forth thinking, I was like, nah, this is a dream. Can't be real. And then it is, and you do it 4 times.
Yeah.
and it's and then you also do the covers, and it's just like I didn't think it was possible, but now that it is, let me tell you something. I know the Lion King so much. I used to work at Amazon, and I would. You can't have headphones in at Amazon. You can't like listen to music, so you just like scanning boxes and just like putting boxes in on a pallet and stuff like that. I would play the Lion King the full movie in my head just to pass the time. That's how much like I was with the. I love the Lion King, and the fact that the story I was able to work on the story was like, it makes no sense.
I imagine whenever you're working for Amazon, you clock in the work and you step in, Nightmare
I'll try to save some time, so I'll do nothing for a little bit, and like maybe like play the Prince of Egypt as much as I could, like in my head, like I know a little bit of Prince of Egypt, but the Lion King I know all the way through. Yep. So I would do every song, so just like even stretch them out, so to stretch out the time I had. So yeah, it's amazing.
Get to lunchtime. I have a lovely bunch of coconuts standing in the middle of the road. No, I mean that's incredible to know that obviously like how much it means not just to the fans but also to yourself, like getting in with how much this movie obviously had an impact on you at the end of the day. So like fan reception aside, I'm wondering like about the experience itself. How incredible was it for you to really like bring this thing to life? Because I can only imagine how incredible like like seeing the story and realizing you were going to have to be the one to like draw these individual characters. Like it had to be a certain point to where you were just like I can only imagine how exciting but also how challenging it was to make sure you nailed this.
It's very challenging because it's like just like trying to find out where all these characters are located, especially in African savannah, because like trying to make these backgrounds look different from each other and let you know where all these characters are. It's like I looked at past Lion King comics that I didn't personally read. I didn't personally have them in front of me, but I would go on Google and look at like past Lion King comics that I guess they had in the 90s. And like seeing those, like referencing those, like not like directly, but just like trying to figure out how to set these scenes, how to make these characters look like they're doing something, and make these characters look like they're moving, or like put them in a scene that's interesting. It's a very challenging thought, especially before you do anything. Once the first one was done, I realized like what I could and couldn't do, and what worked and what didn't work, and then you keep on building off of that.
Okay.
As the first one gets done, like as the story goes on, there's different locations, so like it gets more like intricate, and you can like try to separate them from other locations. But sometimes it's really character focused, which I love. And then you event characters too, because like they're just written characters on a page, and then you got to make them look a little bit different from each other. They're lions, they're all lions, so you got to like come up with your own designs for them that haven't been in the movies or any version of the movies or any version of the shows. It was a very challenging task, but I did my best, and I believe that it worked out.
I mean, I think it absolutely worked out, seeing the incredible work that you put in, the amazing details that you put with the characters, both new and old. I mean, we saw the cover, like the covers alone are a testament to itself, like just how gorgeous and stunning and like vibrant it is to like look at those like definitive like photos. I'm genuinely curious. Obviously you did 40s, you've had several opportunities to draw incredible stuff. What was your favorite thing to draw, whether it be a particular moment or a cover that you did? What was your favorite thing out of all four?
Easily Rafiki. Easily.
Okay.
Easily. Like he's the most humanoid character in the bunch.
Okay.
So it's like to draw him doing anything with his hands. So it's like it is. I think in the first issue, he's like beating up these vultures like throughout the whole page. He's just beating them up, like going ham on them. And just the fact I could do that, I loved it. Like no other character really. I guess like you could argue that like some meerkats could do that because they have like hands and stuff like that. But I don't know. That was so freeing to me. With a book where all the characters are quadrupeds, that like this one can hold a staff and swing it and like run and like and do these certain like humanistic things. That was one of my favorite like experiences doing it. Like I love drawing the vultures too, because like they were like original characters, but like I think Lion King has had vultures in some kind of media before, so I referenced them, but I also like try to put my own spin on it, but also reference the vultures from the Jungle Book.
Okay, yeah.
I think that like helped like try to figure out what the visual language of the whole story was going to be, because I think what the story asked for a more mature story for the lions, but then when the vultures came on, it became a little bit more comedic.
Okay.
So I tried to figure out like a balance between the two, because there's like some shows or some movies that have characters that are so disconnected, but it still works. Like Mufasa, like we should see the characters like Mufasa and like Timon and Pumbaa in the same movie. One of them, like the two of them are very comedic, and Mufasa's like a very like regal and majestic looking character, but they both look like they belong in the same movie, even though they're not. They never stand next to each other in the movie. I think they both work. I think Simba's like the adult Simba's like the middle ground between those two, like a very regal Mufasa, and then like the very like funny looking characters Timon and Pumbaa. So I try to do the same thing with the vultures, really. And I think like most other characters in it like kind of look more so like more regal animals like Scar and like even the wildebeest that I did. So there's a visual language that you try to keep to, and hopefully I did that while I was doing it.
I mean, I think you did it and then some with some of the incredible designs that you have. Again, both either trying to like put your own spin on some classic designs or like really bringing forth these incredible characters that, you know, fit in this world one way or another. I mean, from what I've been able to see from these comics, like you did a phenomenal job. And I could gush a whole lot about it, but I know Tipsy has at least a good couple of questions about this. So Tipsy, you have the floor. What do you want to ask Trevor?
I want to ask many questions, but you never answered. How does it feel to be God's favorite?
What happened?
She said you never.
How does it feel to be God's favorite?
Oh, I mean, great.
That's great.
Amazing, actually.
But does it count as spoilers if I talk about what's going on in the comics, or do you want me to kind of keep it a hush hush until probably like next or?
I don't know. It's been out for a little bit. I mean,
I was gonna say, push come to shove. If you're worried about spoilers, we can say right here: if you're listening right now and you do not want spoilers for this comic series, there will be a timestamp in the description to when the spoilers stop. Okay?
Yes. So please read all 4 issues, or else I will not stop talking.
But ask away on your very spoilery questions, Tipsy.
Yes. So when it came to certain parts of the stories and stuff like that, so you were the illustrator, and I'm sure somebody else was in charge of the writing portion. Is that correct?
Yes, I did I didn't color it. There's a colorist, and I did the initial sketches, then I did the inks. And except for the covers, I illustrated and colored the covers that I did.
I think what she was asking, who's the writer for this series?
Oh, the writer of the series is Chuck Brown.
Okay.
Did you ever communicate with him when it came to like scenes, or did you guys like throw each other ideas? Like what was that team process like for y'all?
It's very interesting, and it probably was going to surprise you that I have never spoken a word to Chuck Brown.
Wow.
Like I think in the very beginning of the process, like I emailed him, and then I think the editor like intercepted it and kind of gave me like the editor was very like the translator between the writer and the artist, and even the colors I never talked to. So like it was a very like I don't have any complaints about it. It was very like, here's the information, got any questions, ask me, and then I'll ask him, and then we'll send it back to you. I think that was like the system they were going with, and I had no problem with that. Also, it was like one of the first times I've ever done anything like this, so I was like, I don't know if this is how it actually works. But that was basically what it was like. And like we follow each other on like social media and stuff like that, but like there was never, during the actual process, there was never like communication about the story at all, and it was really like my interpretation and then my questions to the editor, and then the answers that the editor gave me.
What was the scene where you were just like so proud of?
There's a couple. I'm mad I don't have it right in front of me. I have them like behind me, but I'm not gonna get them right now. But one that proved to me that I could do this was the Rafiki scene of, like I mentioned, that when he starts beating up the vultures, and I don't know, just like even for that, just to be in the first issue, I was like, this is so cool. I love where this is going. I love what's happening here. You get to see a side of characters that you haven't seen before, and for me to like present that to people, like the Rafiki is like a badass that like just like, well, you see that in the movie a little bit, but like I try to make him go like rage on these on these vultures. Like he's out for blood Well, maybe not Alpha Blood. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But like he's trying to protect Scar in a way that you don't see in the movies and stuff like that. So like he's very like kind of fatherly or like almost like an uncle. So to put that to the page, I think I was very proud of that, just for the action part of it and also just the story part of it too.
Okay. I have a particular favorite scene of yours where it was just like, and I know it's not really everybody's favorite scene, to be honest, because I know this scene is probably the last thing people thought of. It was kind of the scene where they kind of had like this hyena gathering where it's like they pick the one they have to eat
for
the whole last year, and I was like, just a whole last year, really?
So
but
I saw some people like, and that's one of the things on Reddit I saw where people were like, I can't believe they did this. I'm just like, why? Like it's like they're hyenas and they're villains in the movie. Why can't they do something like this? I don't know. I just thought that like, well, maybe I missed it. What was your question about it?
Oh, this one is I guess like how did you feel particularly in this scene, because it's technically kind of canon. Like did you have your own feelings on this scene, or what was your thought process?
Yeah, I'm gonna be shocked about it because like it's like cannibalism. They're like, oh, let's eat this. We're gonna do this whole ritual where we choose which one we're gonna eat. And in my knowledge of hyenas, they are scavengers, and they're like, I guess story wise, even in the original Lion King, they're trying to like boost that up in a way where they're always looking for food. They're like kind of starving without the help of Scar. So I guess in the story, and like in this story, which like takes place like in the backgrounds, that's an option that they have. They have a whole bunch of hyenas. Why aren't we eating one of them? Or like I'm not saying it's right, but they're also not heroes.
Yep.
So like
the thing is, they're called Disney villains. I mean, I don't know what we expected.
I was going to say, like, as somebody who's been following this Lion King lore and the whole movies and et cetera, like, honestly, even with Lion Guard, I've seen all 3 seasons for people out there. Don't come after me. I know what I'm talking about. But honestly, when I saw this scene, I honestly could realistically see them doing this, to be honest, and even seeing this being a ceremony, because it's like, you've been banished for one area for so long, and then you have many resources. Is it of your kind? Yes, but girl gotta eat.
Yeah, the queen is not a good character. It's a good character written, but like I was gonna say, not a good person, but not a person also. The queen is not a good character, so it's a villain. It's Scar's villain, so it's like it's a villain of a villain. So it's gonna be a lot of like evil stuff going on. So yeah,
like that. Honestly, that whole girl dinner ceremony scene that they got going on is just my favorite.
Well, hearing us talk about this actually raises another question I wanted to ask. Like, obviously, hearing how it worked with you and the writer of this thing, I'm genuinely curious, what was the hardest scene for you to translate from Chuck Jones into your vision?
Chuck Jones? Who said Chuck Brown?
That's what I said. I said Chuck's vision. I didn't say Chuck Jones. But
I heard.
What was... Maybe... So I'm always going back to the first one, but like I think just because the first one was probably like the biggest hurdle I had to get over.
Okay. Before
I got into it, but like Scar has like a concussion dream like in the first one.
No.
And it's like it has to be like all like dreamy and like and crazy and stuff. I think the colorist really helped with like selling that, because maybe it's just me like just drawing the line work, but as you're drawing, you're trying to figure out how is this gonna come across as dreamy. It's just in black and white. Like I hope you and the colors have to be on the same page, even though I never spoke a word to the colorist either. So it's like something has to come out of this, and it did. I loved it so much. I think that was probably the hardest, because Lion King doesn't have a lot of does it? Not a lot of psychedelic like things going on, or like.
I mean, I think the most psychedelic thing would be seeing Mufasa in the sky more than
I would say arguably speaking, yeah.
Yeah, in the most literal sense, yes. But like, I don't know. There's like eyes in the sky. That was like the scene direction, and it's like, okay, let's put these eyes in the sky, and it's like, oh, everything's like jagged and everything's like breaking apart. And I was like, oh, let's do this, and I think that was probably one of the biggest ones, honestly. And then also like trying to get the elephant graveyard right, or like trying to translate that, and also I did each. I'm not sure if this was like giving away like how they operate or anything like that, but it's like I didn't know the next story before I worked on it.
Okay.
So I would get done one, have like a scene set up, and then it was like the next one comes out, and maybe it wasn't exactly like set up the way the previous one ended, but I tried to like adjust it in a way where it still makes sense. So like I think just like some disconnects there, but even then I try to ask them as many questions as I could just to like be on the same page as everybody.
Right.
I think after I do that and then also get the answers that I need, whenever you do anything in art, at least me, I try my best. I would try my best, and I'll put my blood, sweat, and tears into these pages, and hopefully everything comes out the way it's supposed to. And for the most part, for the system that we had, I think everything came out so good. Like, I don't know how any other processes go, but I think that the fact that like it came out as good as it did, and like I was happy with it, I had no complaints.
Absolutely. I was gonna say, Tipsy, do you have any more questions? I know you're probably brimming with them.
Yes, actually, I have many.
Okay.
But I promise. I guess this is my last one. So how did you feel about like that ending scene from issue 4, where it ended? Because I guess for those who haven't read issue 4 yet, or if you're seeing this part of the video,
I got spoiler right here. You have been warned.
Spoilers. So it's the scene where Scar kind of pushes off the Queen from the cliff, and she gets run over, right? But not with a car, obviously. But but then she just got up and she's like, I didn't die. And he's like, oh yeah, and just all of these guys just ganging up on the rest of them. And I'm like, damn, they technically got eaten alive. This is dark.
It is dark, but also I think in the canon way of it is the fact that like this is the first time he pushes someone. This is the first time he pushes someone off of a cliff and then they get ran over by wildebeest. So it's not like this is when he does it in the movie. That's the second time he's done it. So like he knows that there's a method to it, even though it didn't work the first time. Worked the second time. So the first time he had help with the vultures and they came in, and I think I love that part of the story so much because like I like callbacks. Like I like something like happens in the story and it's like, oh, we set this up and then it comes back later, and like even when I was reading it I was like, oh yeah that'll work out. But like in retrospect, but kind of not retrospect because this comes after, I wish there was vultures in the actual Lion King movie. Like I know these are like new. I know these are like new characters, but like now, like as I'm drawing them and as like I was reading them through the story, I was like, wow, I wish these like were like I wish they were based off of somebody, like from the originals, because like they're like Scar's friends, and then like I'm reading this, I'm like, why aren't they in the movie? Why aren't they Scar's friends anymore? Like, but I guess he makes no friends. He's a villain. Everybody's just an associate. Fair. But how I felt about that, I think it buttoned up the story in a way where it can continue into the actual Lion King story, where he has a previous like knowledge of pushing people off cliffs.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like that trick didn't work on the first time, but maybe it's because of the angle, or maybe she's so, because old bitter bitches kind of live longer. Either
that, or there wasn't a huge Hans Zimmer score in the background of it.
That's what was missing.
That might be it. Unless you play it while you're reading it, and if you are, you're very dedicated.
Well, I mean,
I actually played that.
I was gonna say, have you seen the Lion King's fan out there? When I'm sure they probably made their own scores as they were reading it. Okay.
I would love to hear them. I would really love to hear it actually.
Yeah.
Like even while I'm drawing, I listen to a lot of scores and music like that while I'm drawing. So I would love that.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, obviously, this was a good solo story dedicated for the Lion King Scar. I mean, you have fun time with that, but hearing that this was kind of the first time that Dynamics had an opportunity to work with these Disney villains, I have a question for you. I mean, obviously it was cool to work with Scar, but if there's a Disney villain out there that you would love to have kind of a mini story like this that you'd love to have an opportunity to illustrate, is there a particular villain that you have in mind that you would love to just, expand on their story?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
Yzma,
yes.
Yes.
Because like you don't know much about her. She's old, so she has a life.
Yeah.
Like she has a life ahead of her, behind her. And I know that there is. I'm not sure. Like for The Emperor's New Groove, it was originally another movie I think called The Kingdom of the Sun.
Yeah.
And it was a very more dramatic, less comedic type of movie. And I want to know what they did with that, and maybe base a little bit off of that, because she had a whole song in the original movie, and I would want to go back to that and try to fit that into an origin story or something. I feel like there's a story in there, and I would love to draw it.
I mean, considering how old Yzma is, that could be at least a good 20, 30, 50 issues right there. So you'd have plenty of work.
Yeah, we start from birth. Let's start from birth. Yeah, I think so.
Goodness. No, that would be really cool to see kind of more of an experience on that. For me personally, I know it's kind of that they kind of have an origin already, but the what was it? The guy from Treasure Planet, that with the one.
I'm thinking that John Silver. I was just about to say that.
John Silver. Yeah, that'd be a good one to see, kind of the backstory and how he got to this point or whatnot.
Yeah, that would be good too. I think about the time frame that I would have to draw, and he has very intricate pieces of equipment. He has a hook and a leg and everything in the arm. I was I would love to draw it. There's probably a lot of there's a lot of lore behind there. There's a lot.
I feel like if you were to do something like that, though, I feel like it'd be best if he was the narrator for it, and he was a completely unreliable narrator making these tall tales about how he got his certain attachments or whatnot.
He definitely should have that, or some kind of even not a origin story, just some kind of adventures of John Silver show or something like that, before he meets Jim Hawkins or something like that. I think there's so many untapped ways that Disney has already that they're going for all the low hanging fruit. They're going for let's do a live action Lion King.
Yep.
They have so much other stuff that they could just make. They always make they're remaking these live action Lion Kings and the Beauty and the Beast, where if they remade some of their less financially successful things, they could bring a new life to it.
Yes.
Remake Treasure Planet if you're gonna remake anything. Remake Atlantis, so make it like Avatar or something like that, and put some money into it, and I don't know, it could be so big. I have so many ideas. They could be so big.
I said, hell, I would like to see a live action Black Cauldron. Just seeing that kind of fairy tale brought to life. That'd be interesting to see.
If they did it, I'm not sure how I know people know about that, but I know it's not one of the most popular ones, but that could be really good. It could be really scary too if they actually put some effort into making it scary. Really good Halloween movie, I think.
Exactly. Tipsy, I'm curious for you now. If you could have an opportunity to make this Scar story that we've been talking about or whatnot with one of the Disney villains, who would you want to tinker around with?
Oh, honestly, Jesus. Well, not Jesus, but I would say probably it's kind of hard because he kind of took mine. But,
Yzma?
But not Yzma, no, Scar, because honestly, yeah. But if I had to pick anybody else, I guess it would have to be I would say honestly two answers, Cruella, and the other one I would even say probably a prequel of Lion King, like The Hyenas too, because it's like there's so much going on. Like what? How the fuck is it called an elephant graveyard? Where the fuck did you come from with that?
Yeah,
like there's so much lore that they're not explaining.
As I was saying, it's untapped. They could do a lot of stuff with it.
They could do a lot of stuff, but they're just choosing the cash cow way.
I mean, to be fair, I think at least for a first one, Scar was a good choice. I mean, more than anything else.
Absolutely. I was like, honestly, I remember when I was coming from UPS because I had to drop something off merch-wise. And I remember coming into the Joker spot. That's the name of the comic store. And I saw that there was a Scar comic. I kind of looked around dumbfounded. I was like, is this canon? And not if it's real. Not if I'm losing my mind. No, not if I'm healthy enough to where I'm not like, high as hell. But like, is this canon? And I just remember opening that book, flipping the pages, and I was like, it's real.
Yep.
And how like interesting the story came about and how like so on point the characters are, even at their worst. I was just like, yeah, I appreciate this book a lot.
Absolutely.
Great to hear.
I mean, I can imagine like getting the opportunity to work on this, and even then just like really going all in when it comes to just thinking of your art journey as a whole. Like, does it amaze you how far you've been able to come along as an artist where you get these incredible opportunities like this?
Yes, it does. And like I said, like this one even seems like kind of like someone was throwing me a bone. Like someone like not like throwing me a bone. Like it was like, oh, here, have this. But it's like someone like threw something at me, and it was like, oh, here, have this. And when I had it in my hand, I was like, oh wow, this is like really like valuable. I'm like, thank you for this, because nothing had like happened like that before. I would like have like relationships, like business relationships with people, talk to them for a little bit, and then they would be like, oh, I had this idea. This one was literally like out of the blue. One day somebody DM me and said, hey, do you want to work on a project? Yes. And then they got more details, and I couldn't believe it. So I do believe that one day this would have happened. Didn't know it was going to happen so soon. Very appreciative of it. And in the way it happened, it was so amazing. Yeah. I don't know. This is stuff they make movies about, honestly.
Well, hey, maybe one day we'll be seeing the Trevor Fraley movie and seeing just these incredible opportunities coming once in a while. All I'm saying is, if that opportunity does come, we're available for cameos. Just saying.
Okay. I would love for that to happen. I have ideas in my head all the time. The first part of the movie is going to be about me drawing a perspective barefoot.
Okay, there you go.
My mom says a lot. So we'll see. I already got the prologue.
Well, there you go. I mean, even then, like, thinking about those cool ideas like that and thinking about all this stuff, I mean, we've been having a good conversation so far about the incredible art you've been able to have a hand in, but for this next question, if I may, what if I give you more or less the dream scenario? Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I come to you and I'm like, look, Trevor, we know you can do some sensational stuff. We saw what you've been able to do, not just with with Scar, but the stuff you've done well beforehand. We think there's something there. You just need a little extra push, a little extra platform to get you to that point. We have access to anyone and everyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than there should be possible. We really should be making sure that the animators, I mean, that their contracts come out soon. We should probably get them paid. We'll focus on them a little bit. Right now, we are focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Trevor Fraley project?
Okay, so I've had this idea knocking around in my brain for a long time.
Ooh.
Like around since like 2017. I can't give too much details about it because if I do, it'll never get done. Okay. So I had to keep it. I had to keep a little bit to my chest. But like it's, I had this like sci-fi idea, and I want to make as a graphic novel. But the dream scenario is it to be a full animated movie.
Right.
Like, and it's like it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Like with kids in space. I know it's like a lot of people are doing like stuff with kids who are in space. And it's like something that starts out very just like science fiction and then eventually very quickly turns into something like science fantasy. So let's say like something in Interstellar turns into something that's Star Wars. So something like that, and also a little bit of Steven Universe influence kicked in there.
Okay.
So it's Can't give away too much, but I would love for that to be an animated film. I guess right now I'll start with it being like a graphic novel. I know a lot of people will say, don't do a comic or graphic novel thinking it's going to be a film. I'm just going to be like, no, I am. I'm going to think that, and I'm going to do something like that. And because the fact that what happened with Nimona, like recently, that's the dream. That's the dream. That's the dream. Like to have like that one thing, and make money, and then you make money from that, and then a studio's like, hey, we want to make a movie out of that. Amazing. I would love that so much. That's my dream scenario, to make an animated film, and I'm the person who created the story for it, the designs for it, and my imprint is on it, and people like it. At least like it.
I mean, to be fair, it would not be the first time that people have brought up space on this podcast in the first place. Hearing even just like the little teases that you have right there, I'm fully intrigued, and I definitely want to see more of this when you have the opportunity, because that sounds really cool.
I have some sketches of it on my website, just like sketches I've done over the years. Like a lot of it's changed since then, but like stories completely changed since I started it. Characters have switched around, but like I'm still in the process of writing it. This is one of the longest things I've ever been like trying to like get off the ground, but eventually, within the next 5 years, it'll be something.
I mean, well, speaking of that, if I may. Sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the
reality.
Oh, there goes gravity. And I'll ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
5 to 10?
Yeah, 5 to 10.
I hope to be someone else's influence.
Okay.
I hope to have something under my belt where, like, I worked on Scar. I worked on Guilty Villain Scar, but I hope to have something that's completely my own, that's out there and is high profile enough. I know that everybody wants like fame and fortune, but it's like I just want the name to be out there, like, because I know we talked about it earlier. Like my name's out there, but like it's spelled wrong on Google.
Yeah.
So I would love for it like to be spelled right on Google. And also be a name that's recognized for, if not one, a couple of different stories. Like, I don't want to, like, it's amazing how people can just think of, like, Stephen King, they know, like, his stories and know stuff like that. Or, I don't know, any other director, Tarantino, Scorsese, and stuff like that. These are all, like, directors and writers and stuff like that. I want to be something similar. Okay. Like, to have, like, a world or stories that, like, come out and it's like, oh, we're waiting for the next Trevor Fraley thing. So that would be where I want to see myself then.
That's a good thing to aspire for more than anything else. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing that you have an impact on someone one way or another for the stuff that you put a lot of heart and soul into. I mean, that's a lot of. I can imagine a lot of creators. That's like their ultimate dream. That's something that I've always like kind of hope for when it comes to this podcast. Hopefully the stuff that I'm presenting, the incredible artists that I get to bring on board and have them talk about their stories, like hopefully stories like this inspire other artists to go out there and like really create in one way or another. That's something that I've always kind of hoped with this podcast. So trust me when I say I totally get where you're coming from, and I sincerely hope you get the opportunity to really inspire people. Like really.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
We all accomplish these things.
Yes.
As we start to wind down the podcast, I just have one last question I want to ask you. Obviously, you've been deeply entrenched in art for as long as you can remember, starting with the bear figure or whatnot that you were talking about in the first place. Mm-hmm. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
It's important it's so important, just like on a conscious level and a subconscious level. It's something that AI cannot replicate without us. And it's something that's needed even if people don't think they need it. Because once like people get something that's so manufactured, like a Frankenstein's monster of art from other people, and it's so bad, they'll realize it's like, oh, these were actually people making these things. And I think that's what's important. It's one of the most important things in the world for people, if they know it or not.
Beautifully worded, wonderfully worded, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
That is all the questions that I have for you. Tipsy, do you have one last question for Trevor, or do you want to get to the fun, letting Trevor know how awesome he is?
Well, I do have one question. But I guess to make it short and sweet, did you expect that comic to come out the same time as Disney is celebrating their 100 years in animation?
I never thought about it until you just said it.
Did I?
That never crossed my mind until right now. Like, I've known both things happened in the same year. Never did it cross my mind. That's crazy. Let's hope that it like is in the zeitgeist like that. When the people mention this, it's like, oh, that came out the same year as the 100-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's even crazier than I thought it was.
I mean, hey, if not this, it just shows how much of an impact the stuff you've had a hand in is now going to have an influence on Lord knows how many people in the future.
Oh boy, that's crazy.
But like I said, that's all the questions that we have for you. We've already showered you with a whole bunch of praise, but we want to shower you with a little bit more because it's our podcast. We do what we want. Tipsy, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You go first because I'm the best, and I save for last.
Well, I will just bluntly say right off the bat that, Trevor, I was not really aware of your stuff before Tipsy introduced me to your stuff, but ever since I've been able to really immerse myself in it and really absorb what you've been able to present, like, it's really inspired me more than anything else with just how much you've been able to really put out there and all the different styles you've been able to really absorb and like put out, getting these incredible opportunities, and hearing your experiences with these opportunities really gives me a new level of respect for you and what you do. Like, trust me, the respect was already very high, so like it's just through the roof at this point. There's a hole in my ceiling and the rain's coming in. But regardless, like, it's incredible to know that, like, even throughout all this, like, hearing how surreal it even is for you and how much it really means to you, like, it just gives me a new level of love for what you do. And I'm seriously gonna be one of the people that, you know, you already got good people now that love and respect what you do. You got another one that's definitely gonna keep rooting for you every single step of the way. Excited to see what you're gonna be putting out there next. I definitely want to see the next Trevor Fraley project one way or another. I'm definitely gonna be excited to see what you're gonna be doing from here on out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that a lot.
Of course. And now, Tipsy.
You're so cool!
That says a lot. Thank you.
No, but in all seriousness, yes, you are cool. But in all seriousness, like, first of all, thank you for joining this podcast and like getting a Discord just for us. Like,
yeah. Learn something new all the time.
Yeah, but it really is cool to be able to talk to you and actually checking out your work. Your work is very amazing. And even talking to you right now, with knowing what we know, like, it's the same with Nat. Like, there's like, you had my respect, but like the respect level just went off the fucking roof right here.
You should really get into like roof investment services or whatnot to prevent this kind of stuff.
I can make a killing.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, and just to, like, I find it very inspirational because you would hear these type of stories. You would hear more success stories about people who have to move to another state like California just to get these opportunities, or other countries. You hear people just having like just basically going to very prestigious schools and getting the opportunities off the bat. But just hearing somebody from, from Jersey, out of all places, because you and I know it's not a very like artsy fartsy type of state.
Not really.
No, it's not. But just hearing that and the many amazing opportunities you had, it gives people like me like very hopeful eyes. And I can imagine any younger viewers watching this who are probably in the same predicament, whether it's like Ohio or like or even like the same Jersey, or any type of living situation where it's not great and stuff. Like, it gives hope. It gives hope to people like us. And I just want to say, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me too.
Absolutely. You. Now, if people want to know exactly why we're gushing all about these incredible things and stuff like that, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home.
Okay, so I am Trevor on everything, I believe. Twitter, not X. Instagram, Facebook. It's Illustrevor, ILLUSTREVOR. And yeah, I think that's everything. I think that's on everything. And if not, just type in my name on Google and it will be wrong, but you'll get there.
And if nothing else, if you missed any links, I'll be sure to have them in the description below to get you covered more than anything else.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this so much. It was great talking to you both. And I'm honored. Thank you.
It's been an honor to talk to you more than anything else.
Yes.
And Tipsy, do you have any final words before we sign off?
Yes. Yes, they're keeping me here in the basement, and I have no food and water here.
And with that, all I have left to say is for the people and all I have left to say is for the people at home,
help!
Hey, artists!
Help! They're making me do animation as a job!
Tell me what's wrong, tell me it's parts in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can all open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I greatly do appreciate it. This was a fantastic chat that I am so grateful to have with Tipsy and with Trevor. Trevor, if you've gotten up to this point, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. You were seriously one of the coolest people we had an opportunity to chat with. And it just makes me excited to see what you got going on next, man. And Tipsy, if you've gotten up to this point, thank you for joining me for this episode. I know I kind of didn't have a choice whenever we booked him. I'm joking. I was more than happy to have you on. I was so grateful that you were there to share that enthusiasm for what Trevor was doing. And for those that have been keeping track, obviously there's a certain thing that I hadn't brought up until now, but for those that do not know, the campaign for the Evil Little Thing should be over by now. Thank you to everyone that contributed. I know we didn't really get too close to the $25,000 goal that we had set for ourselves, but the money that we did make is more than necessary. The money that we did make is absolutely needed so that we can go forth, pay the proper people, and really jumpstart getting this project done. I gotta commend Tipsy more than anything else. She really busted her ass trying to get the word out there, trying to do what she can to really let people know about this and really do what she can to make this a reality. That's something that I always love and commend about her, and that's why I'm always going to be supporting her. So anyone that was able to contribute or at least spread the word, even just doing that, you genuinely did help immensely, and we cannot thank you enough. I mean, seeing how this thing is already shaping up, it has me excited, especially now that we have a little bit of a budget. It makes me excited to see what we can do from here on out. Figuring out what stories we're going to be telling with this fun little idea. The incredible cast and crew we've already amassed ahead of time. You guys, if you haven't been keeping up with who's been on board with this project, you guys are missing out. We have some really top-notch quality talent being a part of this. It makes me excited for what's going to happen next. Scared. I'm immensely scared what's going to happen next. But I'm excited nevertheless. And I sincerely hope that for those that were able to contribute, we hope that we can live up to your expectations and then some. But until that time happens, we're just going to keep the good times rolling. Which is ironic, so in fact I just got back from New Orleans. Now, we're going to definitely keep the good interviews coming along. I have some fun chat for you guys to round off the end of the year and even to start off the new year. God, is it just me or is it just insane that we're like right there towards the end? It blows my mind. But regardless, thank you guys for all the love and support so far, whether it's for the podcast or whether it's for the Evil Little thing. We cannot tell you how much that we love and appreciate every little bit that you guys give to this. Any little bit that you can continue to give, please do. Anything would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, keep up the incredible work that you guys are doing.